Hi everyone, hope you're well. It's Sunday the 11th of June at 8 p.m. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. I hope you've had a great weekend. We've had some great weather. I'm online tonight along with business partner and friend Neil McCoy Ward. Neil, are you online?
I am Arsh. Good evening.
Ah, brilliant. Okay, so we're working. Okay, so first of all, we're going to be talking tonight about rent to rent, how to build a £3,000 per monthly recurring property income in under 6 months by using systemisation. Now, first of all, just want to make sure that we've got the right people in the right room. So, and you're online on the right webinar. So, can you just give us a quick hello? That would be fantastic. So, okay, so brilliant. So we've got Colin, we've got Darshan. Okay, we've got a lot of people online. Interesting. Right, okay, so everyone's saying hello, hello, hello. Right, okay. So we're in the right place, Neil. So tonight we're going to be sharing some golden nuggets. We're going to be sharing some real secrets and giving away some real content about the rent-to-rent strategy. So before we do all that, I just want to do a brief intro and I want to say thank you because I want to thank you so much for trusting Neil and I with your time this evening. As we can appreciate, time is the most precious commodity, and I guarantee that the next 90 minutes is going to be the investment that you can make. So, in the next, over the next 60 to 90 minutes, here's what we're going to be looking at. How you can make money in property without buying a house. How you can build a property portfolio at the speed of your ambition. How to build a property portfolio whilst juggling a full-time job. And finally, how to use the systems, what systems you need to run a property business using none of your own time. So why should you listen to me? So my name's Arsh Ellahi. I'm an author of a best-selling book called Boom Bust and Back Again. I've been involved in property, 17 years, so you could say I'm a bit of a property veteran who's earned his scars. I run a group of letting agencies for the last 8 years called Rent Me Now. And in just under 2 years, I've built up a rent-to-rent portfolio that gives me in excess of £24,000 a month cash flow. And as well as that, I'm an author, I'm a columnist for a well-known magazine called YPN Magazine, Your Property Network magazine. So that's enough about me. So Neil, are you online and can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Hi Ash, thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for logging in this evening. We've got some really good content for you, so I think you're gonna get a lot from this evening's training. So my name is Neil McCoy Ward, and I started in rent to rent a few years back now, and I think most people know me for having built up a really large portfolio very, very quickly. You know, I tried rent to rent first after attending a training course. I didn't get anywhere from it, and then after about 6 months, I was about to give up, and then I figured it out for myself. And within that first month, I built up a lot of houses, and within the first year, I built up a huge portfolio of rent to rent. And I mean, just that rent to rent portfolio easily gave me financial freedom. If I was in a 9-to-5 job, within 6 months, I would have been completely self-sufficient. So it really is a great strategy. And I'm similar to Arsh, but a little bit less time, 12 years in property now. And I just love to help other people and to train you in property as well, to show you how you can achieve what Arsh and I have achieved, because I really do feel that anybody can actually do this if you just apply the principles and apply the training, and you can be in the same position. Ash, do you want me to go through, or do you want to start with this?
Keep running on, you're sounding great.
Okay, great. So we're going to talk this evening on a few different areas. So we're going to talk on systemisation as well as a 4-step property management system. So what we want to do is we want to share with you what we've learned and how you can follow this as well. You may know that Arsh and I are always doing trainings like this to help people to move forward and you know, whatever your ambitions and goals are, whether you want to escape a 9-to-5, whether you just want more income, whether you're looking for set up your own business, or you want to spend time with your family and travel more. You know, Arsh and I have achieved this, so our job really is to share this with you, to help you to move into this area as well. So this system that we're going to talk about will turn you into a property expert straight away, and teach you the management side of this. So this gives the landlord everything they want from their property ownership. So they're getting a guaranteed passive income plus so many more benefits. And the system enables you to make a passive income without owning any houses yourself. That's the great thing about this. You don't have to own any of the houses yourself. And this system is known as Rent-To-Rent. So what is Rent-To-Rent then? Some of you may be familiar with it, others won't know what this is. But very simply, you act as a property manager, but not to be confused with a letting agency who may make, let's say, £100 a month from a house profit. With this strategy, we've taken the letting agent strategy and we've turned it on its head, so you can make a minimum of £600 a month profit, anywhere up to £2,000 profit. And we're going to show you how, because it sounds hard to believe, but if you just bear with us, we'll show you how we figured this out. So what you do is you manage the landlord's property. You don't own it. And you give the landlord a guaranteed rent on that property. Next slide. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that property and you're going to rent it out by the room. So you're not going to rent it as a house. So you're renting it from the landlord in effect as a house, and then you're going to rent it by the room. So what this does, it turns the property into an HMO, which stands for House of Multiple Occupancy. But what we're going to show you is how you do it as an unlicensed property, which any council aren't interested in. They're only interested in the large properties where they have to license, well, you as a landlord have to license them, and the councils make £700, £1,000, etc. on the licensing fees. But when it comes to the smaller HMOs, the council aren't interested in them. And for us, it's an absolute gold mine, because we can make a fortune off these smaller houses just completely under the radar, just making a business out of this. And no one's interested in it in terms of councils and things. So the great thing is you do it with the landlord's consent. We'll show you how to sort of explain this to landlord, and they love this offer. 9 out of 10 landlords will say, yes, I'm interested in this. So in this way, you'll make more monthly cash flow than the landlord would from the property, and you don't even own the property. So here's the sort of the benefits of it. Number one, it's the speed of it. When you actually buy a house or buy an HMO, it takes a long time. It actually takes months to complete on that purchase. With Rent-To-Rent, you can sign an agreement with the landlord within 24 hours. That's how fast this is. It's very low risk because you don't own that property. If anything goes wrong, you can just hand those keys back to the landlord. It's really not a risk to you at all.
Neil, can I just butt in there? When we talk about risk as well, now, the one thing that you have to take into consideration with Rent-To-Rent is that if you buy a property, you're committed to that property right up to the point of you redeeming that mortgage. So Rent-To-Rent is a much less riskier strategy because it was all subject to negotiation. Would you agree, Neil?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And then provided that you put the right clauses into your contract, you could have that property back if it's not working for you. Whereas if you bought a property, the only way for you to exit or to get out of that property is by selling it. And with all the best will in the world, that could take 1 day, or it could take 3 years, or even longer. You may have experienced it yourself. How long does it take to sell a property? You've got to wait for the right person to come and give you the right offer. So keep going, Neil.
Great. Yeah, I mean, in terms of if you've ever bought a property before, you'll know how expensive it is in terms of legal fees and deposits and all these sort of things. I mean, a typical let's say 3-bedroom house now, you'll be lucky to get change out of £200,000. Now, if you've got to put a 25% deposit down, that's £50,000 right away. Now, if you were to look at the rent-to-rent strategy and create a business from this, as we sort of recommend you do, £50,000 is enough to potentially get you 20 houses or more. And imagine if each of those houses made you, let's be conservative, £750 a month. You know, if my math is correct, that's £15,000 coming in every month, profit. So I don't think there's anything like this in the marketplace today. The next thing is the recurring income. So we always sign a long-term agreement with the landlord. You're not taking this property on for a few months. It's usually 3 to 7 years. That's the length of time here. So the profit over that time is very high. And really there's no excuses with this strategy. With many strategies out there, there's just so many excuses that you could make. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough, you know, X, Y, Z. With this, there really isn't any excuses because it's so straightforward to do. So speed, no wasting on solicitors, no surveyors, no lawyers. You know, like I said, within 24 hours, and you can grow your own portfolio at the speed of your ambition. Next slide.
Shall we just talk to them very briefly about speed? Remember about remember the landlord Pete that we met in Coventry?
Mm-hmm,
So,
yeah.
Do you want to just talk us very briefly about how that worked? So he contacted you, you went out and visited the property, etc.
Yeah, I mean, it really is super fast with this strategy. The deal that Arsh is talking about is a local landlord. He owns the post office in Coventry, or a post office in Coventry. I've spoken to him a lot of times, and one thing that we always recommend is that you tell everybody what you do. It doesn't matter if it's your hairdresser or the barber or the man at the post office. Everyone needs to know what you do as a business. And when they know, they tell other people. So all the time people say, oh, I've got an empty property, or they'll know somebody in their family that is in property. And when that property becomes vacant, that's when you'll get a phone call. So this gentleman, Pete, he, like most landlords, didn't just own one property. He owns a lot of properties. And one property became available a while back, and I had a look at it, it wasn't suitable. And then another property became available, and again, it wasn't suitable. And then he called me again with a third property, which was suitable. And I had a look at it, all the numbers stacked up, and that's when Arsh, I called Arsh, as we do, or one of our clients or students, and we say, this property is available, who's interested in it? And it really is that quick. Within 24 hours, an agreement is signed, and that property is yours for the next 5 years, potentially. So that's how fast this can be done. In terms of cost then, there isn't any deposit required with rent-to-rent. Now, I know there's a couple of people out there that always pay deposits, but I never do, Arsh never does. We don't believe in paying deposits on a rent-to-rent deal. And the reason for that is because usually what you're going to do is you're going to renovate that property, very light renovation, maybe painting the walls, new carpets, some very basic stuff, putting some new furniture in. Now, to me, that's the deposit paid, and that's how I explain it to a landlord. I'm not paying deposit because I'm renovating the house for you, and that's the great thing about it. It's a win-win for both of us. So, okay, great. Very low risk. If house prices go up, it doesn't affect you. If house prices go down, it doesn't affect you. If interest rates go up, it doesn't affect you. If they go down, it doesn't affect you because you don't own the property. It's very easy to analyze the right property by researching tenant demand. So we have a lot of different formulas that you just adopt, spreadsheets that you can type into. And all you do is you find the right tenant demand versus the price of the property. And we've turned this into a science now. It's not an art form, it's a science. We go by the numbers, If the numbers stack up, it's a good deal. If they don't, you don't do the deal. So I mean, there's no risk really associated with this anymore. And the success really only requires your focus and determination. So how focused you are, how determined you are, is gonna be a difference between your success and your not success, as it were.
Okay, brilliant. So no, I'm just going to stop you there. So we've been broadcasting live on Facebook for the best part of 10 minutes. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Now, guys, we're going to finish our live feed now. I've left the link to join the webinar at the bottom of the video or underneath the tagline. So if you want to join the webinar, all you've got to do is click the link, get yourself registered, and we'll see you all very soon. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and we'll be seeing you soon. Neil, do you want to say anything to the guys?
Jump online, jump on the webinar. We've got loads of great content, and I'm going to teach you the strategy as well.
Perfect. See you shortly. So, okay, Neil. So, right, let's keep moving on then, my friend.
Okay. Now, here's the great thing about this strategy. I'm all for other property strategies. I'm all for business. I own different businesses as well. But there's one thing that I love about this strategy, and that is the recurring income aspect. There's nothing else that I know of where I can invest £2,000 or £3,000 into a light renovation on a property and then make £750 or £1,000 profit every single month coming into the bank account. There's just nothing like that. And especially if you get a 5-year agreement, spending £2,000 or £3,000 on one house is a drop in the ocean. So it's just an incredible strategy if you're looking for a recurring income in your life. And you know, quitting your job is scary. We have a lot of people that you know, come online or come on trainings because they want to quit their job and they want to get into this. And yes, it is scary, but that's why we say you never just quit your job. You wait until you've built this business up, then you leave your job. You don't leave your job first and then build the business. So you sort of gradually get into it. And again, being your own boss can be scary, but in my opinion, it's the greatest feeling in the world to be able to wake up when you want, go to bed when you want, travel the world if you want to. So yeah, but not, you know, it is scary, but when you've got a recurring income that comes in every single month, guaranteed, there's nothing really to be worried about, in my opinion. So let's talk about the time scale then. Why is now a good time to get into rent-to-rent? Well, firstly, there is a surging tenant demand, and it's going up all the time. We're going to talk in detail on this shortly, but the tenant demand for the United Kingdom is at an all-time high, and it's only getting higher. There's a falling supply of single-let properties as well. So many people have switched their properties around and restructured and things that there's a very short supply of single-let properties. And also rents are expected to increase by 20% over the next 5 years. So that's why you want to get in now and lock in these low rents that are around before these big increases hit. There's always a cycle to everything. You have you know, seasons, your winters, your summers. There's a cycle to everything, and there's also a cycle to the property market. And the rents haven't yet jumped onto this, so the sales have gone through it, but the rents are just about to hit now, and they are expected to go up by 20% over the next 5 years. So this is why now's the perfect time, really. So here's the next part. Home ownership is at a 30-year low, and it's only getting worse. 25% of young Britons now think that only inheritance will get them a house. And actually 30% of first-time buyers, the deposit is coming from their parents. So generation rent is definitely here to stay. I can't see it going any other way with the way that prices are going. Here's a couple of articles. We'll just flick through these slides, but these are some articles from The Guardian and other Times and newspapers like that. Yeah, now this is quite interesting. if you notice these headlines here, and it really is an assault on buy-to-let landlords. Over the last year, this has been going on, and it's getting, hopefully we're at the end of it now, but a lot of buy-to-let landlords are really in a bad position, and that's why this offer that you're going to make to them will just, they'll snap it up really, because a lot of them have been pushed into higher rate tax bans and all sorts of things. So this, when you make an offer like this to them, a rent-to-rent offer, they're going to love this. Let's get back through the slides, Arsh, on these. Okay. Right, so here's the window of opportunity. Rents are expected to rise by 20% over the next 5 years. Generation rent is surging and it's definitely here to stay. Tax changes. Now this was the interesting things. They take 25% from the landlord's pocket, and it actually pushed them into a higher rate tax band. This is the key thing that's going on. So there's just never been a better time to start this strategy. Now I don't know about you, but I don't know if you remember years back when students went to university, or maybe you went to university yourself. But when you graduated, you would come back home and you would get a job in your local city or the nearest city to you, maybe not your town, but certainly the nearest city. Well, that doesn't really exist anymore. If you look at young people now, the competition for jobs is fierce, and many of them, when they leave university, they end up either staying in that city or they live hundreds of miles away from their home that they grew up in. And because of this, you have to think, where do these young people live when they go for these jobs, when they go as interns or when they go as their first time job? They're not earning a fortune. They're obviously not buying a house. They're not renting a house or an apartment. There's only really one option for them, and that's a house share. It's renting a room until they can get themselves going. So whether that's a year or 18 months before they can save up some money, they're going to live in a house share, added to the other people who are priced out of the other options. So there's just never been a better time for this. Okay, so here's a great part on the content then that I've put together for you. Now there's 4 simple steps to systemizing your rent-to-rent business, or any business in general, but let's make this specific to this rent-to-rent business today. So one thing I'll say is that many people say, Neil, how do you run so many businesses? And some of these businesses are not small businesses and hardly spend any time in them. Well, the key, the secret to this is systemization. The more you can systemize in your life, in your business, the better, because it means more profits and more free time for you. So systemization is crucial. And we're going to talk about 4 key aspects here. We're going to talk about recruiting and training, sourcing, renovations and furnishings, and then filling the tenants and the management. So this is really everything you need to know about the systemization aspect. So let's get started. So step 1 then, this is all about recruiting and training your property manager. So the property manager is going to be the most important person within your business. Now, there's lots of different ways that you can approach this, but I believe the way I approach it is the best way. I've still got my very first property manager that I recruited years ago. He's still with me from day one. So I think the way I do it is certainly one of the best ways. Now, how did I recruit Joe? Well, I didn't place an advert on Indeed or Monster or one of these sort of job recruitment sites. What I did was I thought to myself, it's a fairly new business. I've built up 8 houses already, and now is the time that I want to hand this over to someone. So who would be a good person to hand this over to? And the more I thought about it, I said, right, what skills do they need to have? Well, they need to have skills in people skills, firstly, because I want them to rent rooms for me. So they need to have good people skills. They need to be reliable and available. And lastly, they need to have not necessarily experience in maintenance, but they need to be able to book in people that can deal with maintenance and plumbing and electricians and the like. So here's what I did. I put up an advert for a student. So I recruited someone straight from university, and that person was a guy called Joe. I recruited him from university, and I explained the situation and that we were going to build up the business together, and that he would get paid a commission basis based on how much he brought in terms of houses, managing tenants. If the rooms were always full, he would get a bonus every month for everything being full. And I think this is a mistake that many people make when they don't pay their property managers bonuses. Because if you think about it, let's say you have a room and it's £500 and you have 4 empty rooms. That's going to lose you £2,000 a month. Now, if you were to just pay your property manager, it's even 10% of that, so £200 as a bonus. Many people won't do that because they say, no, I don't want to pay bonuses and the like. But to me, I would rather lose 200 than lose 2,000. So I'll always pay a bonus, and I'll make sure that property manager is well paid. As mine is, he's very well paid, but he also earns his money. He works hard and he deserves it. So I started him on a very, very basic commission-based salary, and I built him up. So I recruited, I nurtured, and I also trained him in maintenance. So there were some things that I knew how to do myself and other things I didn't know. So YouTube is your best friend here. If you want to know how to do a lot of basic maintenance, it's all on YouTube. So I asked, every time Joe would ask me, how do I do something? I would point him towards a YouTube video or Google, or tell him to go into B&Q and ask someone there, or I had different contacts for this. And after a year or so, you won't get any more questions or phone calls. Your property manager will just deal with it. Either they'll be able to handle all this themselves, or they'll hire people in or a handyman to deal with basic maintenance. But really, your property manager should be able to do basic maintenance. It's fairly straightforward. So there we go. And then you just let them loose. So once you've got that property manager trained, you're happy with them, you let them loose, and they really just go for it. Especially if they're fairly young, they'll just go all out. They want to earn money, they want to build something for themselves, and that's certainly the way I've done it. And again, Joe's been with me since day one, so I've got no regrets with my strategy. So that's the way I'd recommend that you also go forward with it. So step 2 then is actually the sourcing. So this is let's call this the marketing. So the marketing aspect of sourcing properties. Now there's a few different parts to this, but step 1, if you want to trial this out, then what you would do is, we've got a template Arsh and I have, which is an advert template, and it basically goes onto Gumtree, which is completely free, and landlords will see that you're advertising for properties. So you're saying that you're looking for a property on more of a corporate or business agreement, and and you explain the benefits of the rent-to-rent, and then the landlord will then contact you, or they'll contact your property manager. But I usually handle most of the calls myself, because if we're looking for properties, I know that I'll convert almost 10 out of 10 phone calls that come through if I'm interested in that property, whereas your property manager may only convert 7 or 8 of them. So it all depends on their level of negotiations experience, but that's the way I'd recommend. If you're just starting out, I put out a Gumtree advert and go from there. The next thing is that you can use, and again, the Gumtree advert is systemised as well. It's a template, you put it on there and the leads come into you. That's what you want. You don't want to be chasing leads all the time. You want the leads to come to you. The next thing is a board scout. Now this is your property manager, and it's very straightforward, this strategy. What your property manager will do is they'll go to your goldmine area and they'll walk up and down the streets looking for any boards that say to let or for rent, and they'll just make a note of the address of that property, and that's it. and they'll build up this big list of properties that are available for rent or to let, and they'll bring that list back. They'll jump on the land registry portal and they'll do title deed searches. Now, when they do a title search, they can actually find out, or you can find out, everything you want to know about the property in question. So it's amazing, but all of you, if you're a property owner right now, anybody can find out any information they want on you and that property. It's all available on land registry. Now, it costs £3 for each search, but that's a tiny drop in the ocean. If you think that £3 could be worth £30,000 to you in profit, it's nothing. £3 is nothing. Now, once you've got the information, it will tell you the property address, so you've got that, but it will also tell you the landlord's home address, because most landlords will not live at that property, otherwise they wouldn't necessarily be a landlord. Most landlords own several properties or more. They'll have a home address, and then they'll have these rental properties addresses. And that's the challenge I think most people run into. It's how do they find the landlord's home address? Well, that solves this challenge straight away. And it tells you all sorts of things, such as when the property was bought, how much they paid for it, do they have a mortgage on the property? Now, you might think, well, why do I need to know this information? Well, it's actually quite crucial, because if someone just bought a property very recently and they spent £250,000 on that property, they're not going to rent it to you for £500 a month, because they're going to have a very high mortgage on it. But if you notice that the property was bought for £100,000 20 years ago, then it's almost guaranteed that that landlord is going to rent that property to you, because their mortgage is going to be almost non-existent. They're going to be of a certain age where they probably don't want to be dealing with all the issues of it, and a hands-off investment to them is the golden ticket, really. So once you've got all of this information, you're going to use again a template letter that Arsh and I have, and you're just going to send that out to the landlord. It's a very simple letter that I wrote to myself. It's got all psychology and copywriting embedded into it. A very simple letter. The landlord will pick that up, they'll see all the benefits, and they'll pick up the phone and call you. So again, you're doing a little bit of work here, but you're actually collecting leads. So the leads are coming into you, they're interested, they're phoning you. And then lastly, as we talked about the word of mouth marketing, your property manager and any other staff you have will be the personal marketing machines for you. So everywhere you go, you tell people how great your service is, and they'll do the rest. They will certainly talk about you to other people. They'll always be telling people what you do, who you are, and you'll always get leads coming in. You know, as a business, we get leads every week coming in, all the time. We don't have to do hardly anything for it. So it's just such a great strategy. So that's the sourcing aspect. Step 3 then, this is the renovations and the furnishing part. So again, we've just got a really simple template and a system which all that happens is you give this to your property manager. So far, how much work have you had to do? Almost nothing. It's like anything. You actually set this up. Arsh, can you just mute your microphone? Just getting a bit of feedback. So what you do is you simply set all of this up. So you've got a template, you train your property manager, everything's done for them. And so it might take you, let's say 2 or 3 months to get everything set up, everything's systemized, you've taught the property manager. But after that, you don't have to do anything, like almost nothing at all. So they just follow these templates. So let's look at this then. So let's say we're talking about a renovation or furnishing a property. Well, we've got mind maps. So the property manager just takes the mind map and they look at it, right, what do I need to do? Paint the house, or what order do I do it in? It needs carpets, it needs canvases going on the wall, it might need a mirror, it might need something going into the bathroom, it might need a doormat, etc. Very basic, simple things. But it's only basic and simple if you've done it lots and lots of times before. Whereas many people, and if you're fairly new to this, you won't have done this before, so you won't know exactly what order to renovate a house in. You won't know how much to spend on a renovation. You don't know the cheap places to buy furniture, how to get really high quality furniture for almost nothing. So this is how we do renovations so low, £2,000 to £3,000 for a full renovation on a house, and making it look like a show home. Unless you've actually been through this over many years, you won't know how to do it. So that's why we provide these templates and mind maps and things for you. So it saves you so much time. You don't need to waste thousands of pounds and months of your time trying to figure all this out. So it's all on there. So the property manager that you're going to train up just follows these steps, really simple. And then same with the furnishings. Just follow that mind map. Now, do you buy or do you lease? Well, this is an interesting one, and it really depends where you are in the journey. So I'd say if you're just starting out, personally, I would buy. And then later on, when you're making very high profits, and of course tax then comes in, it may be more tax efficient to lease high-end furniture. But I mean, that's later on down the line. What I'd say if you're just starting out is that you buy the furniture that we recommend at very low cost, but very luxurious. And then step 4 then, so this is really the final part to the systemization aspect. It's the filling and managing. So your property manager is going to advertise all the rooms for you. So in my case, I don't do any of the adverts. I don't take any of the phone calls or messages. I don't do any of the viewings. I don't do any of the management. My property manager handles all of this for me. We, again, and there's templates for all of this, we create adverts. They then have all the photos attached. They have this beautiful write-up with all the benefits. Everything's been thought of through objections that we've received from tenants and feedback from tenants over the years. Everything's done for you. And all you do is you just hand the account over to the property manager with all the adverts set up, all templates, and they then just put those adverts out there, and they take the phone calls or they take the messages, they deal with them. Step 2 is then doing the viewing, and it's vetting the tenants to make sure they're suitable, and then it's filling the rooms with those tenants. And of course, if we have a very, very high conversion rating of tenants taking up the rooms because the houses are in such good condition, they're so beautiful inside, they're set up so nicely, it's just so simple. And then once the tenants are in place, the property manager just manages them in the property. And it depends what sort of tenant group you go for. I mean, there's so many different tenant groups: professionals, students, workers, LHA. It depends which way you go. So for example, I started out with professionals, and that was my main market, and they're the easiest ones. Professionals are the ones that hardly ever call you or your property manager for at all, months at a time. And the management is very, very simple, which means the easier the management, the more properties your property manager can handle, which means more profit for you. So I'd say those 4 steps are the main things you need to think about and understand and take action on if you're systemizing your rent-to-rent business, or if you know, whatever business you're doing, but really specifically with rent-to-rent. If you follow those 4 steps, of course there's a lot more to it, such as the finance and systemization of the accounting and the rent payments and paying the utility bills and things. But in a nutshell, these are the simple 4 steps. So here's what we've covered now then. You now know how to recruit and train your property manager, how to have him or her source properties for you. You know how to do the renovations and the furnishings, and then it's actually the filling and managing. So you now know the steps behind this. So tonight we haven't got enough time to cover everything in detail because this is only a 1-hour training session. But if we go to the next slide, Arsh, I'll just explain, if it's okay with you, about an actual training that we're running in Birmingham shortly. It's our Rent-to-Rent Masterclass. And we do these a couple of times per year. I think we only managed to do one last year, but the aim is to do two this year. Just because Arsh and I, we do run different businesses, it is getting harder and harder for us to run these courses, but as it's our commitment that we do train more people in it, we are running another masterclass shortly. So it's 2 days with Arsh and I. Day 1 is all on advanced rent-to-rent strategy, and day 2 is all on the marketing and the negotiations aspect, because the two go hand in hand. In my opinion, this is where other trainings fall short, in that they teach all the great content of rent-to-rent on day 1, but on day 2 they don't cover how to actually talk to the landlords, how to overcome the objections, how to negotiate to get the best deal on the property. These are things that aren't covered, and I think it's a shame really, because many people attend other courses and they go away and they don't take any action and they don't get any properties, because there's a missing piece to it. And that's, you remember at the beginning I said that I initially went off for 6 months and I just couldn't get any houses at all. Well, it's because the training had, I don't know if it was deliberate to try and get me onto mentoring or whatever, I don't know, or upsell me, but it was just missing all this information on the negotiations and how to talk to the landlords and what questions. It was all missing. So that's why Arsh and I have included this in the 2 days. And our students or our clients, they go off and they're very, very successful. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, just how successful they are. But you know, all these things are covered in it. We're going to show you the top 5 ways to find landlords, the most efficient ways, how to persuade the landlords, all the costing guides that we mentioned. Next slide. How to find endless supply of tenants. So we're going to show you all the platforms for that, so you don't ever have to worry about voids at all. The profits calculator, how to analyze everything, and we've actually got a few different calculators. We have one for taking on properties, one for tenants, one for the landlords. So everything's covered. You get a recording of the entire course that you can always refer back to as well. And you get all the presentation slides, but not only that, you're also going to get all the documentation. Arsh, next slide. You're also going to get all the documentation as well. I mean, we spent thousands and thousands of pounds on all this sort of stuff, the management agreements, the ASTs, the guarantors, all the booking forms. We spent a fortune on all of this, and you actually get all this included with the course. You don't have to pay us anything extra. You actually get all of these forms to use for yourself. And now here's the great stuff that people always say. It's my marketing letters, or what some people always say is the secret sauce to the rent-to-rent. It's actually getting the marketing letters that I give you those templates. And there's 2 types as well. There's one to very small landlords, and then there's the letter to the actual licensed HMO landlords, if you decide you want to go that way. Now, we haven't got time to talk about the difference between licensed and unlicensed today, but the main thing is that one requires a little more skill and experience, which is the licensed properties, and you can make an awful lot more money, but it does take longer, and there are a few more regulations that you need to be aware of. So that's why Arsh and I say always start with the unlicensed, and then to move into the licensed a bit later on if you feel comfortable with doing it. Now, the other thing is you'll get the Landlord Persuasion Spreadsheet, but not just the spreadsheet, but my entire formula. Like Arsh, I wrote a very, I wouldn't say it was a best-selling book. It didn't get on New York Times or anything like that, but 10,000 salespeople used the actual sales training model that I created around the world. So there's a lot of people use that. I'm going to teach you all of that on the second day, and that's going to be tailored specifically towards rent-to-rent. And people have said that alone was worth thousands and thousands of pounds to them, just that one day learning that system. And this isn't going to be sort of passive learning where you just sit there and listen and forget a load of it. This is going to be active learning. So if you think about, say, the military or the services, They don't say to them, right, this is what you do, this is how you hold a gun, and this is what you do, and this is how you hold a hose, and you know, they don't do any of that. What they do is they'll light a fake object on fire, and they'll tell the fireman to get out with the hose and put that hose out. Now that's the difference between passive and active learning. So what we're going to do on day 2 is we're going to do active learning. So it's going to be a lot of role plays so that you really understand the objections that come up and you overcome them. So what you're doing then is you're not waiting 6 months to a year to get houses. You're going to start getting houses very, very quickly within your first month or 2. And that's how you really get this strategy going and you build your business quickly. So here's what the course will do for you if you just follow the course. And that's all you need to do. You just need to follow the course and take action. That's it. The rest will work itself for you, because remember, this is a science. This isn't an art form where there's many variables. This is a science now. So here's what it's going to do. It will replace your job or your salary in just 6 months. That's all it will take, just 6 months if you do it properly. You can easily get your first property in the first 30 days, and it's going to allow you to do the things that I do. So spend more time with your family or your friends. You can do the things you want to do in life without feeling limited by money or not having enough time. You know, I remember when I used to drive every day, wake up really early in the morning, drive an hour or so to work all day, drive an hour or so back in rush hour traffic, and it was really, really hard work. You know, I wasn't earning enough money to be doing that, and I just had no time whatsoever. I hardly had a social life, and I felt trapped by that. And you know, it wasn't an enjoyable time. But the one thing I'll say is, once this rent-to-rent business was up and running and everything was great, I didn't need to worry about any of that ever again. You know, driving long distances and working at a desk or anything like that. So it is a great feeling to have that freedom, and I honestly believe that any of you can achieve this if you just take the action and follow the system. I mean, Arsh and I have spent years developing this training now, and you know, if you look at other people who go on training courses, in the most part, a lot of people just don't take the action. They don't become successful. But I can categorically say the people that come on our training courses have a very, very high success rate, without a doubt. And we'll just show you a few testimonials later on. But here's another thing the course will do. It will help you to find landlords tomorrow. So on Rightmove, Spare Room, Gumtree, and you're just going to use our proven templates. It's as easy as that. And we're going to show you how to make landlords an offer they can't refuse. Here's a few of the, now by the way, these are not things that we're saying. These are things that people who have been on the course have said. We've asked them, what were the main benefits? And this is the things that they've said. Financial freedom. It's allowed us to spend more time with our family or with our friends. It's allowed us to have more time and more money. Some people have done it because they wanted to travel the world and explore. And I'm sure Arsh will mention at some point, but I don't really spend that much time in the UK each year because I'm traveling so much for work and for pleasure. So I travel the world every year, and my property manager takes care of everything for me. There isn't really many things that he needs to ask me about, because everything's systemised. Even the accounting is systemised and the finance. So I don't really need to do a lot. It also, what else will it do for you? You'll get your hands on our proven checklist to refurb, refurnish. Everything's done for you. How to make your room stand out online in terms of the photography and the dressings and the write-up. Next slide.
So Neil, what we're going to do is we're going to talk. Well, let's keep moving on, because here's what we can offer a landlord. So what we want to talk about is the irresistible offer. Is that okay?
Yeah. Do you want me to continue, or do you want to jump on?
Yeah, you carry on. You're sounding great.
Okay, thank you. So here's I'm hoping that you've been taking notes all the way through this, because this is golden stuff. But if you haven't, this is certainly something to take a few notes of here. And this is the offer that you make to landlords. So these are the key benefits. So the first one is you're offering guaranteed property income. Now, a lot of letting agents will say, oh, well, we offer guaranteed income as well. Well, yes and no. What they offer is something quite different, and that's a guaranteed rent insurance, which actually you have to pay for. As a landlord, you have to pay an insurance premium in order to get this rent guarantee. Now, there'll be a couple of letting agents that maybe will offer what we offer, but 90% don't. So number one, you're going to offer the landlord guaranteed rent for 3 to 7 years, however long they want, really. And they will love that because they don't have to worry about voids for the future. Number two, free refurbishment on the house for the landlord. Now, this is the key here that they love to hear. So imagine that someone said to you right now, we're going to spend a few £1,000s renovating your house for you. You don't have to do anything. What would you say? So firstly, you're probably a bit skeptical, but once you know it's genuine, you would say, go for it, go right ahead. Because why would you turn down a free refurbishment? Now, I always say that we spend a few £1,000s on the refurbishment, so that could be £5,000. But actually, what we produce is a £5,000 refurbishment. But it usually doesn't cost us more than a couple of thousand. But it's just because the experience we have is what we produce. The next thing is the long-term let, so that ties in with a guaranteed income. So you're guaranteeing the income and you're offering a long-term let agreement. Keyword number 4, no management fees. So the landlord isn't paying 10, 12, 15% to the letting agent where they're losing money. There's no fees at all. You only deal with professional tenants. So the landlord doesn't have to worry about, oh, well, am I going to have to evict and the like. No, you only deal with professional tenants. And there's a weekly cleaner paid at your own expense. So the landlord now knows, okay, so the property isn't going to get into a really bad state because you're going to renovate it, you're going to keep it in good condition, and you're going to have a weekly cleaner. So straight away, that offer to the landlord, no one else can touch that. Not a letting agent, nobody, not a private tenant. No one's going to be able to match your offer. So here's one thing we haven't talked about yet, and that's the financial aspect. So how does the money work then? How do you make the profit? Well, let's say that you rent a property from a landlord, and these figures are really conservative, by the way, and you rent a property for £1,250. There's 5 rooms in that property, and you rent each one for £500. So your income is now £2,500. So that's the first line to remember, 2,500 income. Then you have rent to landlord, the utility costs, and again, Arsh has marked these really high here because he's being conservative. So the total cost might be £1,850, and your profit's £650 on that. But realistically, if the property had 5 bedrooms, you're probably going to be paying about £1,000 to £1,100. So already there's an extra £150 to £250 profit there. Your utility bills, so typically that's council tax, gas, electric, water, broadband, and the cleaner, TV license. You know, those 7 things are usually pretty typical. And that will usually cost you around £300 to £350. So you can see, let's say there's another £250 profit there. So the profit could be £650, or it could be £1,100 on this single property. Just one property, £1,100. Now I've got several 5-bed properties like this that make me easily £1,000 profit a month without any worries at all. So imagine having a large number of properties like this. Like Arsh and I have a seriously large amount of properties. And imagine you're making £750 or £1,000 on each one every month profit. You know, it doesn't take long to become quite wealthy through this strategy at all. Or even if you just want a few houses, let's say you want 3 or 4, and you're only making £750 a month on each one, and you had 4 of those, well, that's £3,000 profit. that can replace a lot of people's income. So why would a landlord say no? This is usually one of the questions that people ask Arsh and I. Why would they say no, or why would they say yes? Now, as I mentioned, we've turned this into a science now, and especially with myself doing the negotiations training, there isn't really anything that's going to stand in your way. So usually, anytime someone isn't interested in your offer, it comes down to a handful of reasons. But in the most case, almost all objections can be overcome. And again, we're going to cover that on day 2. So if you've ever heard of my system, the Sales Revolution system, that's what we're going to cover on day 2. So you don't have to pay ridiculously high prices like corporate clients pay me for me to come in to train their salespeople. This is included in the actual course. So I've done this because Arsh wanted me to introduce this a number of years ago, and that's what we've done, and the feedback has just been incredible since we've introduced this. So you're going to get all of that training on day 2. There's no extra charges. It's all included within the course. So here's the secret tip then. Is it really possible to negotiate a discount on the rent and have the landlord thank you for it? Is that possible? Well, yes, it is. And the way we do that is through the landlord calculator. Now, the landlord calculator is a very simple Excel spreadsheet that we've created. And what it does, it actually shows a landlord. Let's say a landlord thinks they're getting £1,000 a month on their student property. Let's just use a student property as an example. So they think they're getting £1,000 a month. Well, actually, no, they're not. Because what we do is we break it down. So I'll say to them, well, how many months are you actually renting it for? 10 months of the year. Okay, so you're actually getting 10,000. So already it's not difficult to do the math. They're not getting 1,000 a month anymore. They're getting 800 and whatever it is. You know, eight tens. You know, they're not getting 1,000 a month. They're getting just over 800 a month now. What are they paying the agent? Oh, 10% a month. Okay, so they're losing another 10% of that. Are they paying their first month's rent to the agent, or are they paying a proportion of it? Yes, they are. They might be paying 50% of the first month's rent as a finding fee. What about all the sort of wear and tear each year when furniture gets damaged, or you know, basic wear and tear which the landlord can't claim out of a deposit, because wear and tear is part of property rentals. Damages, yes, you can claim. Wear and tear is just part of being a landlord. You know, there's all these different things that stack up. So usually that landlord thinks they're getting 1,000 a month. Usually they're, again, 600 or 650 when you take all the deductions out. They might be getting 650. So this is the sort of secret that we use. We use this spreadsheet, and we teach you how to actually use this with the landlord. So if they're only getting 650 net, why would you pay 1,000? So what we do then is we actually show them how much they're getting net, and then we make them a better offer, which is still great for us because we're going to rent that 12 months of the year, and we're going to get a much higher rent than what the landlord's getting. So here's the other thing. We didn't even talk about voids there. So you know, apart from the 2 months voids they get from students, let's say, other landlords that might have typical family single lets, they'll have voids every year, or every 2 years they might have a 2-month, 3-month void. Now that costs a lot of money to that landlord. So when you say that you're going to guarantee the rent for 5 years, for example, they know now they're not going to have to worry about 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 pounds worth of voids. And you always want to mention these things. So this is, you've got to show them how you're going to save them money and put more money in their pocket, because if you do that, they're going to do a deal with you. So I think we've just about covered most of the system there. So I've showed you really how you can use this business model to achieve as little as a £3,000 income per month. That's it. We just talked 4 houses and I actually created, I think it was either 4 or 5 houses within my first month of doing this strategy once I figured it out. So I'm not saying that you can create 3,000 in 1 month, but you can certainly create it in a few months without any worries at all. And we showed you how you can actually learn the entire process, how you can get your hands on all the contracts, all the paperwork, all the templates, all the letters on the masterclass. So this is the dates. I'm going to actually hand over. Arsh, are you available to jump back on?
Yeah. Hi, Neil. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Now, the reason why I'm going to take it, because I've been working on something with Neil over the last couple of weeks, and this is going to be something that is going to be pretty much going to transform your next journey. So as Neil has clearly identified previously, that we are running a workshop on 24th and 25th of June. It is held in Birmingham. And what we're teaching you is this life-changing strategy which will allow you to go off and build your property business with very little money. So just going through it again, it's a 2-day course with me and Neil, showing you the fastest, the cheapest and the most profitable way to set up your rent-to-rent property. We'll be giving you the cost guides, we'll be giving you the 5 ways to approach landlords, how to find landlords, where to find them, and how to elegantly persuade landlords into doing business with you or over anyone else or doing anything because of all the benefits that you can offer. We'll be giving you an endless, how to find an endless supply of tenants so you never have to worry about voids. And then, as Neil says, we've got the rent-to-rent calculators, we've got the spreadsheets, we've got the templates of all the letters. As well as that, you get the recording of the entire course that you can always refer to and all the presentation slides. You get the AST contract, you get the management contract, which will cost you in excess of £1,000 if you were to go off and create it yourself. You get the guarantor contract, saving you again in excess of £1,000. You get the tenant moving in form, and we even show you how to furnish your we even give you a how to furnish your property guide. Now, here's the beautiful things, because it's one thing finding property, you need to then be able to write the right letter in order to attract the owner to you. So we give you the template of the marketing letter, we give you the template of the letter which you write to the landlord on the HMO register, and we also give you the landlord persuasion spreadsheet, because as Neil said previously, if the landlord's renting their house for £600 a month, automatically the headline figure that they've got in their mind is £600 a month. Now, one thing that you need to take into consideration is that what they haven't taken into consideration is the letting agent's fees, the voids contingency, the bad debt, the maintenance that they will have to pay. So in actual fact, after taking out the mortgage and everything, they may be left with actually, in actual fact, cash flow of £200 a month. Now, if we can portray that in a manner and show that you're a better bet, then you're always going to walk away with the property. And as a result of that, you're going to get your hands on stuff like our checklists. So how to refurb it, how to furnish it, and how to fill every property with the right tenants, with the ones that pay on time and look after the property, which makes your job a lot easier so that you can be very much a hands-off investor. And again, we'll be looking at how to make your room stand out online so that the tenants actually call you first. And in some instances where they actually pay you more than what's actually being advertised. Now, normally, and I say normally, this would be 1997. But what we want to do, we want you to inspire other property investors with your success. So we've come up with a great opportunity, and the opportunity is that you can save £1,000 on the course price. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, but I don't want you to switch off just yet, because you can book your space on the 24th and 25th of June for just £997. And all you have to do in order to take advantage of that is copy that link into your web browser. So it's bit.ly, and this you have to copy it in exactly the same format. So if it's got a capital, you have to put the capital in. So bit.ly/R2R success. Now, moving on, the one thing that we are going to say is that with all our trainings, we actually offer 100% money back guarantee. So if you buy the course today, you risk nothing because it's covered by a 100% money back guarantee, and here's how it works. If after the first day of the course you are not completely satisfied, all you have to do is say, oh, sorry, okay, it's not for me, and I'll give you a full refund. No questions asked, no hassles, or forms to fill out, no problem at all. Now, here's a couple of people who have really gone off and absolutely mastered this and smashed it to pieces on their location. Now, here's an interesting guy, because people say you can't do rent-to-rent in London. Now, I'm putting in front of you a gentleman that has defied all odds. Now, JC attended the masterclass in January 2015. In 1 year alone in London, so he operates in Croydon, he took on 18 properties. His entire portfolio is in Croydon, South London. But people say that it can't happen in London because landlords are too shrewd for this. But yet he's making in excess of £15,000 a month cash flow just by attending the workshop. And here was his way that he got there. So from 1 property to 2 properties, and the number of properties that he's taken on, and he's seen the net profit and the cash flow increase month by month. Now, here's an inspirational character. Now, in 2002, you may hear me talk about Girish quite a lot because I've done a fair bit of business with Girish. Girish is currently on my mentoring scheme, and Girish worked as a full-time consultant paediatric surgeon in Birmingham, and he was on a very good salary at £120,000. Problem is that he was working a very high 70 to 80 stressful hours a week, but he lived for the weekends and holidays. Now, a problem that Girish had is that he worked in a very high stress environment. And what happens if you make a mistake in a hospital? Girish could very easily have the blood on his hands of someone's life. After 28 years as surgeon, he realized that he actually had no assets, no passive income, and he actually felt trapped in the rat race, the day-to-day rat race. His reason why to trying to escape was that he wanted to build the first children's hospital in Mauritius, which was a vision that's much bigger than himself. So he's got an aspirational salary, he's got a comfortable lifestyle, but it's never going to give him the money to build the hospital. So what does he need? When Girish found out the right strategy, he quit his job within 3 months. But was quitting his job scary? Absolutely it was. What made it a safe decision was the recurring property income without owning a house. And within 3 months, Girish managed to get 3 properties under his belt, which gave him 19 rooms, giving him a cash flow of £3,500 net cash flow and time freedom. Now, here's a few of the people that we're going to skip through. So here's Susie Bates. She's made, off 1 property alone, £865 cash flow. She now has 4 properties in Leicester, giving her in excess of £3,000 a month. Now, the question that you've got to ask yourself, are JC, Girish and Susie any different to you? The answer is no. No, they're not. All they've done is that they've put their doubts aside for long enough to give this a try at no risk to them. And they've achieved unbelievable results faster than they dared to have dreamed. And here's a load of other people. Now, for argument's sake, if you have a look at our rent-to-rent testimonials, we've got all kinds of people that have been on the workshop and have done phenomenally well. We've got Rory O'Mara right in the corner there. Now, we always understand that not everyone can attend a workshop. No, not everyone can get to Birmingham. They may have commitments, they may have family, etc., etc. So what we've done for this workshop alone, we've put in multiple ways for people to attend. So you can attend in person, and it would be fantastic to see you, and you can get to take advantage of the full networking opportunity. Now, the second thing that we've put in is that you can actually live stream the whole event from the comfort of your own home. So like you're watching today, but in actual fact, you get to see us present. You get all the documents before the event, so we will email you all the documents, and you get to participate, and you get to role play exactly as you are, as if you were in the room. But naturally, our first preference would be that you would be in the room with us. And then finally, you get to purchase, well, for anyone that attends a workshop, you'll get the recording of the workshop completely free, and that's part of the offer. However, if you can't attend in person, or you can't live stream, you can actually purchase a recording and all the associated documents. Now here is where it becomes different, because I don't believe anyone has ever offered this before. But because we are so confident in what we're offering, we've created something very unique. We're going to create, whoever comes on the workshop, we're going to give you something called the 30-day rent-to-rent challenge. It's almost like a 30-day mentorship. And after the workshop on the 24th and 25th of June, we do another 2-hour group webinar with all the group attendees and the workshop attendees, where we can then define the strategy in your area. And what's going to be doing is we're going to be having a look at what's the best approach and how we can start to making contact. We're going to create a very specific, and it's not created yet, we're going to create a very specific WhatsApp group, which will give us access directly, not only to me and Neil, but to all the other delegates in the group. So it's going to be, we're going to create almost like a mini rent-to-rent community. And what we want you to do is, I want you to be in there every day, sharing your experience. What have you done today? How many landlords have you contacted? How many have come back to you? What have they said? What was the underlying tone of the conversation? How many viewings have you been on? Because only once we understand what you're doing, then Neil and I can come back to you and say, well, in actual fact, this is what you need to do. Okay, you've got to this stage, great. Now here's what you need to say to push it over the line. Because what we're aiming for is that we're aiming for you to get your first deal within 30 days after attending the workshop. So we're going to handhold you through the process for 30 days after the workshop. Like I said, you'll be included in a special WhatsApp group, only available to those who have attended the workshop will get access. You'll get access to our special Rent-to-Rent Facebook community, and you'll also see how hundreds of other previous students have succeeded. Now, this is the first time that we're doing this. So naturally, we want to see real success stories, and we're going to push you to the nth degree to make sure that you are a success, because I want you to be on our next slides for the next webinar, for our next workshop, whenever that may be. I want to say, well, in actual fact, we've got, let's have a look, I'm going to say, so we've got Gloriana online. Gloriana, hi, thanks for being here. I want to have Gloriana's picture on the next webinar. Well, Gloriana came on the workshop on the 24th and 25th of June, and within 30 days, she got her first deal. And the beautiful thing with property is that the more confident you become in property, and the more confident you become with the offering of what you're offering to a landlord, the easier it becomes. It becomes like riding a bike. When you first start, you're a little bit wobbly. You're a little bit wobbly on your feet. You're not exactly sure what's going on. The more you do it, the better you become. Starts to become like second nature. I'm probably a little bit too confident for my own good, but I know that whenever I'm about to walk into a property, I'm going to walk out of that property with the keys. And that's the kind of same level of confidence that you've got to have. What you're offering is better than anyone else that anyone can offer, better than any professional tenant that's going to rent it for 6 months. It's going to be better than any letting agent that's going to want to take the property on. Why? Because you offer something different. So I've got to ask, with all this help and support, how can you possibly fail? There's no other training out there that is going to give you the support that both Neil and I can offer you over a 30-day period. If there's any questions, you pick up the phone to Neil or I. If there's an issue, you pick up the phone to Neil or I. If you're going out to a viewing, I want you to share it with the community. So not only do you get the training, you get the support after. So after the 30 days, what happens? You'll still be in the Facebook community. The WhatsApp, possibly, Neil and I, we never know, that could still open, and that could then become another community and another avenue for you to keep in contact with us. So I've got to ask you the question. Imagine never having to do a day's work for anyone else for the rest of your life. No more boss, no more commuting, no more pressures, and no more financial worries. You can have a regular and reliable £3,000 monthly income from working less than a day a week. And I've just got to ask you the question, don't you owe it to yourself to give it a try? To learn these secrets at no risk to you at all? To grab this at half price because normally it's £2,000 and tonight we're offering it for 997. And you can profit from the surge in tenant demand, and all you have to do is book your seat on 24th and 25th of June. And again, like I say, it is going to be at the Jury's Inn in Birmingham, and it's 5 minutes from New Street train station. All you have to do is copy the link, which is bit.ly/R2R success. Don't worry, I know that we've got loads of questions. We're going to go through these shortly. Now, what difference has Rent-to-Rent made to my life? Now, my plan is to help as many landlords as possible through difficult times ahead. I'm confident that by the end of 2017, my Rent-to-Rent portfolio is going to give me in excess of £50,000 a month, which is equivalent to £600,000 a year. You can do exactly the same when you use a simple system. Now, with Neil, what the difference that it's made to Neil, it's actually allowed him to travel the world. Now, Neil, he only likes working around 1 to 2 hours per week on his rent-to-rent business. The rest of the time, it's given him financial freedom. It's given him unlimited time freedom. It's given him an enjoyable, slow pace of life, allowing him to travel with his family. And again, you can do this because when you look at what your reason why is, you'll be able to confirm that this is the way to get you to your way to financial freedom. And again, I'm going to finally say that this is at no risk to you at all because you're covered by the 100% money back guarantee. Because if you don't like it at the end of day one of the workshop, all you do is you say and you get your money completely back. So I'm going to leave that link up there for a second. And what we're going to do, we're going to go through a number of questions. So Neil, are you still online?
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me, Ash? I just had myself muted.
Okay, so fantastic. So let's quickly go through some of the questions. Just trying to see. Okay, so Gus has asked a question. He goes, Neil, can the strategy work if the properties are not local to you?
Yeah, it certainly can work. I would always say that it's better to find properties in your local area. And so many times people have said to me, and I love it when this challenge comes in and people say, oh, well, in my area, there's, there isn't the opportunity, there isn't this, there isn't that. If there is a company in your area, or if there's a school in your area, or there's a business park in your area or supermarket, then those are the sort of people, the sort of tenants that will need to live in a room. So school teachers, when they first graduate and they go into their first school, they need a room. People who work in supermarkets, they're not earning a fortune, they often need a room. So there is always scope anywhere, even in towns or villages and places like that. And what I always say is that let's say you live in the centre here and there's 4 or 5 towns around you. Well, instead of going to a big city and doing a strategy, maybe have a couple of houses in each town or village near to you. There's so many ways to do this, but really hitting the question, can you do it at a distance? The answer is yes. We've already covered the strategy, the systemisation. You just set it up and then you hand it over to a property manager, and that property manager will just follow all of your guidance and run it for you. So yeah, you can certainly do it. Would I recommend it? Possibly. I would say you're always better doing it at home first, somewhere that's within half an hour of your house. But if you need to do it at a distance, it's certainly possible.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, just quickly going through. Okay, so there's questions. So Kyle has asked, are there any other dates? As he's got a 50th wedding anniversary to attend, and it's 2-day event. We haven't got currently any other dates available, but like I said, the one thing that we can do is we can offer you the recording. You could live stream it. I'll tell you what we would do, Carl, as well. For those that can't attend the workshop and they really want to, anyone that books onto this one, we will then automatically allow you to attend the next workshop for free too. Neil, you happy with that?
Yeah, and even better than that, Arsh, what we'll do is anybody that's really serious about this, because I know that oftentimes people have commitments like wedding anniversaries and events and things. What I think is a good option is if you actually book onto the course. So you book onto this course now, and then you just let us know you can't attend this one, but can you attend the next one? That's absolutely fine. And what we'll do is we'll give you all of the recordings, all the slides, all the documents. So it will just be as if you were in the room on the 24th and 25th of June. So you get the best of both worlds, really. You get everything that everybody had that attended that course, and you can attend the future course as well, which will, you know, even cement your knowledge further. So that's the best option, I think, for you there.
Okay, so Victor has asked a question. He goes, I live in Spain. Can I control properties from abroad? Now, Neil, can I answer this question? Yes,
yeah,
yes, you can. The reason being is that, as like Neil, you can, as we've talked about systemisation, you can have property managers who manage the properties for you. But more importantly, is that we've trained hundreds of people, and not all of them are in the UK. Now, when it comes to rent-to-rent, the one thing I will mention is that if you do decide to do rent-to-rent, a lot of people take them on for their own portfolio. Now, the other thing that I will mention here is that if you negotiate the deal with the landlord, you don't necessarily have to keep the deal yourself. Now, I know that we're going off on a bit of a beaten path here, but so you can negotiate the deal with the landlord, and then you can sell the deal on to someone else. And we've done, you know, Neil and I have both done deals like that. So, Victor, you got to identify whether you want to keep it or whether you want to sell it. And if you want to keep it, yes, it is still possible. You may require the use of some agents or a property manager on the ground. And we've had a couple of people ask that question actually tonight, Neil. So we've got one of the people who's actually a good friend of mine, Rahman, who's actually based in Saudi Arabia. He goes, Arsh, let's have a quick look. He goes, I don't live in the UK. Is there a model that allows me to partner up with someone in the UK and do this as a JV, almost like a silent partner? Now, the beautiful thing is, Rahman, for anyone that attends a workshop, yes, you know, it is very possible for you to buddy up with other people in the room, and that has happened before in the past.
Yeah, yeah.
That has happened before. And now, for argument's sake, you have a look at the skill sets that each party has. So one person may have some of the money, the other person may have the other half of the money, or one person might put in all the money, and the other person may bring the skills of the management and the time. So there's a number of ways that it can happen, and I've known a lot of people do JVs on the back of that.
Yeah, just to add to that, Arsh, yeah, I mean, that was what Arsh has just said there. It was a perfect answer to that, because so many times on the courses, what you'll have is the perfect partnership. Is one person has all the time, the other person has all the money. And we do see this a lot where people do joint venture. They come on the course, and that's usually what happens. One person has the money, the other person has the time. And it really is a perfect relationship, doing it in that way. And you can build a business together and just grow that business and keep growing it. Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, perfect. So someone's just John Paul has asked to go, hi Neil. You go Okay, so here's interesting. This is a beautiful thing about these webinars. So Rahman says, Rahman, who's based in Saudi, he goes, I'd be happy to put in all the money and use someone else's time, 50-50 JV. So there you have it, guys. You know, it's very rare that we see stuff like this on a webinar. So Rahman is based in Saudi. He just needs someone on the ground who's going to have the ability to go out and get the deal. And here's what we'll do, Rahman, in the workshop, whoever turns up, what we could do, Rahman, if you could get yourself, admittedly, we would need to get you booked on in order to get you involved. But then what we could do in the workshop, we could then, you know, get you speaking to a few people, and then you could decide who you can work with in that location. So hopefully that could help. So there's automatically like a JV waiting to happen. So John Paul has asked, Neil, where are you located and where are all your rent-to-rents?
Okay, hi Jean-Paul. I live mainly, in the most part, so I have my main residence is in Coventry, in the Midlands, so just next to Birmingham. Coventry's a large city, just under 400,000 people. So that's where I'm based. My properties are all within 20 minutes drive of my house, which actually it doesn't make any difference to me. They could be 10 hours away from my house. It doesn't make any difference because I don't go to any of the properties anyway. I haven't set foot in one in probably 18 months. All I see is the reports from the systemisation on the iPad, or the photos come in, the cleaning schedules. So I see everything. So yeah, it doesn't really make much difference where they are, but mine are within 20 minutes of me, every single one of them. And again, I've got different sort of strategies. So I've got one strategy which is the professional houses are in one area, the sort of worker houses are in another area, the student houses are in another area. And I've got more high-end houses which are in quite a luxurious high-end area. So this is more sort of advanced stuff, but we'll cover it all in the course, and I'll teach you all of this sort of stuff, and how to actually make the most profit from each tenant group, and how you source the different houses. But it's all fairly straightforward.
Okay, so Carl's asked, he goes, do a lot of people who do your training get results quickly, and do you have to do it in your own area, and can you do it all by yourself? So I think we've covered a lot of that, but Neil, do you want to answer the question about whether any of the delegates get success?
Yeah, I would say that we have a very, very high success rate. And I actually didn't even know how high our success rate was until the one day that we just, Arsh and I, we just put a little bit of feedback out there in terms of asking in the group, you know, who's had the success, who's you know, how many houses you got, etc. And I was actually really shocked by the amount of people that said, yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 10 houses, because a lot of people just never told Arsh and I that they had been so successful. A lot of people just went off and got on with it, basically. They'd phone Arsh and I occasionally, ask a few questions, and then they'd get back to it. So I was very shocked at the very, very, very high number of people that are successful. But bringing it back onto each of you as individuals online, I would say that, and as I've said all the way through the webinar, it's a science. This isn't an art form. It's not sort of a, well, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. If you just follow every single one of our steps in the training, you cannot fail. It's not possible. It's not possible for you not to be successful. In fact, I'd say it's physically impossible, because everything is there. Everything, every system, every document, every marketing letter, everything is there for you. All you have to do is just take the action and do what we say, and that's it. That's
more importantly, for the first time ever, we're going to be tracking their progress for the 30 days after coming on the workshop. So yeah, if we see what you're doing and we feel like you're going slightly off track, we're going to pull you back online. More importantly, on the 2-hour webinar, we're going to be almost like creating your plan for you. So when it comes to levels of success, you know, it's like learning. One thing I always say is that if it's not broken, don't fix it. Now, the template that Neil and I have created has worked extremely well, extremely successfully for hundreds of students. Now, sometimes we get the odd person who tries to adapt or tries to mess with the system, and that's when it tends to go wrong for them. And we just say, just follow the system. Don't try and adapt the letters, because these are letters that have worked for a number of years for a number of lots of different people. So hopefully that helps. Now, Carl has asked another question. He goes, okay, so thanks. On your course, do you show how to set up from scratch, like the business and everything? So someone like myself would be able to open a bank account and limited company, and how to get it all going. That's exactly what we'll do, Carl. That's exactly.
I mean,
go on.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'd say with that, Arsh, is that you have to bear in mind we have 2 days to teach you an entire business strategy. So am I going to sit down and I'm going to show you how to open a bank account? Probably, you know, just being honest, Kyle, probably not. I'm going to teach you the really intricate things you need to start making money. Because you can, later on we can teach you how to open a bank account or whatever else. So I'm just being honest here. I don't want to give any false sort of promises. If you come on the course and we're going to teach you all the advanced stuff. We're going to teach you how to make money. That's what I'm interested in, teaching you how to make money, and then we can cover all the little bits of admin later on.
Okay, so just have a quick look. So Kudos asks, what's the legal side of this?
Good question. Do you want me to jump on, Arsh, and answer?
Yeah.
So this is a fully legal strategy. It's the same way you can ask, what's the legal side of being a letting agent? Well, you're a property manager. You manage people's properties for them. So here's the great thing about how, because I said Arsh and I have been doing this so many years, we've mastered this. So what we do, so there's two ways to look at it. There's the landlord aspect and there's your aspect. Now, to the landlord, you are their tenant in effect. So you are their tenant. They don't need to worry about anything else. But legally on paper, it's a management agreement. So you are the property manager. So that's the difference. It's no different to a letting agent agreement, apart from a few little clauses and things that we've changed. But you are a property manager. That's the main thing. That's what you are, and that's what a letting agent does. So it's all you're doing is you're renting the rooms on behalf of the landlord. So completely legal. There's nothing to worry about.
Okay, so just quickly, just looking at okay, so Victor asks, will we be taught how to read a deal to see whether the numbers stack up or not? Okay, Victor, I'm going to answer this very question very simply. Our spreadsheets that we provide you with tell you straight away whether it's a deal or not. And I always say the numbers don't lie. By input, all you have to do is input some very basic numbers into it and it will calculate it all for you. So yes, you will get the deal analyzer, the HMO cash flow calculator, and all the other spreadsheets that we use on a day-to-day basis to see if it's a deal.
Yeah, and also to answer the question as well, we spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours of day one actually teaching you how to find your gold mine area, which is very, very intricate, and we make the intricate process very simple, because again we're teaching you a system. You just follow it step by step, so you actually don't leave that for lunch on the first day until you found your gold mine area. You don't even go off for lunch, because what happens until you found it, because what happens is I'll sit there until everyone's got at least one area. It's part of the program that you look for about 5 areas, but you definitely have one by lunchtime. So we do spend about 90 minutes on this, and it is intricate. It does take a little bit of thought and effort, but we run through all the numbers, we go through it on a flip chart, we analyze it all. So yeah, so that's all covered.
Okay, no, I think we've covered.
Yeah. And I think the last thing to let everyone know, Arsh, really important, is that we've only got 8 seats left on the course. So I think we need to sort of get that across, because usually what happens is, ladies and gentlemen, people message a week later, or a long time after, and say, oh, I'm thinking about going on the course, and then I'm really sorry, the course is full now. The seats have all gone, because we haven't actually released the seats to the main database yet. We've only took bookings from people sort of over the internet, or people that have found us through YouTube and other sources. We take those bookings and then we release the main book of the seats. But we've had such a high uptake this year on seats that we have only got 8 seats left as at the start of this webinar. So just something to be aware of, that if you're looking to book on, I'd book on as quickly as you're able, really.
Okay, perfect. Right, Neil, I suppose we've answered as many questions as we possibly can within that time. I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to learn how you can make a recurring property income without buying a house. Hopefully, you'll be able to use these secrets to buy a property business, to build a property business, so that you too can decide if you want to quit your job. If there are any other questions, you're more than welcome to give me a call. You've got my personal mobile number there. You've got my email address. Feel free to drop me a line or give me a call. Let's see what we can do. On a personal note, it'd be great to see you on the workshop on the 24th and 25th of Jan. Sorry, not Jan, June. 24th and 25th of June in Birmingham. And I'm really looking forward to the challenge to see what we need to do to get you your first property or your next property. Bill, is there anything that you want to add to that as a final comment?
No, I think we've covered a lot this evening, and I think people have got a lot of value from this. I mean, that's our aim. We always want to give you as much value as we possibly can, share as much as we can with you in the short time that we have to run these webinars. So I'm just amazed at so many people. 90% of the people that started the webinar are still online. That's quite amazing. So I think that's testament that you've obviously got a lot from this evening, and I'm happy to have been able to serve you. I'm sure Arsh has as well.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, on that note, I'd like to wish you the best of the rest of the evening, and no doubt we'll be speaking to you all very soon. Take care, good night, and God bless.